Hello dear friends, welcome back again to another video from my YouTube channel. Dear friends, in our previous video, we discussed about the very important process, spermatogenesis. Spermatogenesis means the process of formation of sperm inside the testis. Now, the process of formation of sperm is called as spermatogenesis. In this video, we are going to understand about one more very important process, that is oogenesis. Oogenesis. Spermatogenesis is very simplified process in case of males, whereas oogenesis is very complicated process in case of females. Then how we can define the oogenesis process, my dear friends? Oogenesis means the process of formation of mature female gamete. That is nothing but the ovum. The process of formation of ovum, the process of formation of egg, the process of formation of a mature female gamete, it is called as oogenesis. If you recall the spermatogenesis process, my dear friends, spermatogenesis starts at puberty in case of males. As the male person become mature, sexually mature, then the spermatogenesis process, it begins in the males. Whereas oogenesis, as I told earlier, it is very complicated process and it is a discontinuous process. Hence, this lecture is going to be very complicated if you don't pay your complete attention towards the lecture and all the labelings here. Now, let us begin. Oogenesis, it starts. Oogenesis begins at the embryonic life in females. What do you mean by this? In females, the oogenesis process, it begins at the embryonic life, whereas the spermatogenesis, it starts at the puberty. ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಗಂಡು ಮಕ್ಕಳಲ್ಲಿ ವೀರ್ಯಗಳು ಉತ್ಪತ್ತಿ ಆಗುವಂತಹ ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆ ಯಾವಾಗ ಸ್ಟಾರ್ಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಯಾವಾಗ ಆ ಗಂಡು ವಯಸ್ಸಿಗೆ ಬರ್ತಾನಲ್ಲ ಅವಾಗ ಅವನಲ್ಲಿ ವೀರ್ಯಗಳು ಉತ್ಪತ್ತಿ ಆಗುವಂತ ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆ ಶುರು ಆಗ್ತದೆ. ಹಾಗಾದ್ರೆ ಹೆಣ್ಣಿನಲ್ಲಿ ಹೆಣ್ಣು ಲಿಂಗಾಣು ಉತ್ಪತ್ತಿ ಆಗುವಂತಹ ಪ್ರಕ್ರಿಯೆ, ಇನ್ ಕೇಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಫೀಮೇಲ್ಸ್, the oogenesis or gametogenesis, it starts at the embryonic. इन्नू मगु हुट्टे इल्ला, अभी बच्चा पैदा नहीं हुआ, एक लड़की अभी पैदा नहीं हुई, तब से उसके अंदर फीमेल्स गैमेट्स बनना शुरू हो जा रहे हैं. अब मेल के अंदर कब बने थे? मेल के अंदर जब वो लड़का बालिग होता, जब वो लड़का सेक्सुअली मैच्योर होता, तब उसके अंदर स्पर्म्स बनना शुरू हुए थे. मगर लड़कियों में, फीमेल्स में ओवम बनना कब शुरू होता बोले तो अभी बच्ची पैदा भी नहीं हुई, बच्ची अभी मां के कोख में है, तब से उसके अंदर the oogenesis process begins. That is what I am going to represent with the help of a diagram here. Consider she is a pregnant woman. She is a pregnant woman. Inside the womb of this woman, she is a pregnant woman. Inside the womb of this woman, this is the womb, pregnant woman's womb. Inside this, there is a small little baby here. There is a small little baby is getting developed inside the womb of the mother. Consider this fetus. Now it is no more called as baby. जैसे डिलीवरी होता तब उसको हम बेबी बुला रहे या फिर बाबा बुलाते उसे, लड़का हुआ तो बाबा, लड़की हुई तो बेबी. अब इसको हम लड़का भी नहीं बुला सक रहे, लड़की भी नहीं बुला सक रहे, बच्चा बोल के तो बुला नहीं सक रहे, तो इसको क्या बुलाना है भाई? नाउ इट इज कॉल्ड एज फीटस. इट इज कॉल्ड एज फीटस. ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಭ್ರೂಣ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ಕರಿತೀವಿ. ಇದು ಒಂದು ಹೆಣ್ಣು ಭ್ರೂಣ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿ ತಿಳ್ಕೊಡ್ರಿ. ಇಫ್ ಇಟ್ ಇಸ್ ಅ ಫೀಮೇಲ್ ಫೀಟಸ್. Now it is no more called as baby, it is still inside the womb of her mother. That is why now she is called as female fetus. In this female fetus, there are a pair of ovaries here in the pelvic region. Here we have the ovaries. A pair of ovaries are present in the fetus. Which fetus it is? Is it a male fetus or female fetus? Yes, it is a female fetus. Let us take a closer look of this ovary. Let us take a closer look of this ovary. The ovary which is inside the womb, it is the almond shaped ovary. The almond shaped ovary here. Is it a girl's ovary or is it a fetal ovary? Yes, my dear friends, it is a female fetal ovary. It is a female fetal ovary. Inside this ovary, there are two types of cells are present. There are two types of cells are present. They are the cells which are present in the ovary, and we'll have one more type of cells. One more type of cells are present. We're going to label them in a minute. They are the cells. There are two types of cells are present in the fetus of that female. Now, this cell that I have marked with a black color, this cell, it is called as, this is like this cell, it is the oogonia cell. Oogonia cell. And this oogonia, it is a diploid cell. It's a diploid cell. Listen very carefully, my dear friends, because this oogenesis is much more complicated than the spermatogenesis process. They are the oogonia cells, and we have one more type of cells. These cells, they are called as granulosa cells. Granulosa cells. There are two types of cells present in the ovary of this female fetus. Now, this oogonia, listen very carefully, it's very interesting. This oogonia, it undergoes mitosis. It undergoes mitosis inside the womb of her mother. अभी बच्ची पैदा भी नहीं हुई, इन्नु मगु हुट्टे इल्री, ಆಗ್ಲೇನೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ oogenesis process start ಆಗ್ಬಿಟ್ಟದ. It undergoes mitosis. Mitosis. According to one estimation, according to the recent research in the human embryology, in 1 month old embryo, female embryo, in 1 month old female embryo, approximately 1700 oogonia cells are present. 1700 oogonia cells are present, and all the 1700 oogonia cells, they started dividing by means of mitosis. As a result of that, two cells are formed. Two cells are formed. It's mitosis because due to this mitosis, here diploid cells are formed. These two are the diploid cells. These two cells, they divide further and they result into the formation of 4 cells. 4 cells divide further by mitosis. Like that, these oogonia cells, they keep on dividing by mitosis so that they can increase their number, so that they can proliferate their numbers. This is the multiplication phase, my dear friends, where the oogonia cells, they are getting multiplied by mitosis. Here I am mentioning only 2 cells. I am not going further in detail because I don't have enough space to draw all the structures of oogenesis process. So, these 2 cells, they divide further and results into the formation of 4 cells. 4 cells divide by mitosis and results into the formation of 8 cells. 8 cells divide by mitosis and results into the formation of 16 cells. Like that, the number of the cells are getting increased inside the womb of this, inside the ovary of this fetus, my dear friends. Now, at one point, they stop the mitosis. At one point, they stop the mitosis. Then they start performing, I am tracking only this cell. ಈ सेल ना ट्रैक ಮಾಡಾಕತ್ತೀನಿ ಅಂತಂದ್ರೆ ಈ सेल ಕೂಡ ಅದೇ ಮಾಡಾಕತ್ತದ. अगर मैं ये सेल को ट्रैक कर रहा हूं, ये सेल को मैं आगे लेके जा रहा हूं, मतलब ये सेल भी वॉच कर रहा. Now these cells which are formed after the mitotic divisions, they are called as primary oocytes. They are called as primary oocytes. From oogonia, now they become primary oocytes by performing mitosis. Plenty of millions of primary oocytes are formed. Then all the primary oocytes, they start meiosis. They start meiosis 1. Just now they have started the meiosis 1. Suddenly get arrested. Get arrested at prophase 1. We know meiosis has got two main steps, meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. In that meiosis 1, we have got prophase 1, metaphase 1, anaphase 1, telophase 1. In meiosis 2, we have prophase 2, metaphase 2, anaphase 2, telophase 2. Like that, we have got various steps in the meiosis process. This stage is very, very important for competitive exams, my dear friends. The cells which are formed by mitosis, they started performing meiosis 1, but suddenly they get arrested at prophase 1 stage. At prophase 1 stage, suddenly they get arrested. Suddenly they get stopped. Stop the meiosis 1. Then, after stopping this meiosis 1, still it is called as primary oocyte. It is still called as primary oocyte. Why we have not changed the name? It is primary oocyte. It is also primary oocyte. Why we have not changed the name? Because it has not completed the meiosis. It is an incomplete meiosis which get arrested at prophase 1. After getting arrested, suddenly this primary oocyte, it start collecting all the granulosa cells around it. It starts assembling all the granulosa cells around it. They are all the granulosa cells. This is the granulosa. Granulosa cells. Now, after forming an outer layer of granulosa cell, this complete structure, now it is called as primary follicle. Primary follicle. After doing this entire process, now this fetus has reached the 9th month of its pregnancy. 9th month of its gestation period. As a result of that, by the end of 9th month of the pregnancy, millions of primary follicles are formed in the ovary of that baby. That means this much process, it is taking place in the embryonic life. Inside the embryo, this much process is taking place. Now, millions of primary follicles are formed. Millions of primary follicles are formed by the end of the pregnancy after completing the 9 months. Now, after completing the entire gestation period, after completing the 9 months of pregnancy, now it is time for delivering of that baby. Now the baby is delivered. Baby delivery. It is technically called as parturition. Parturition process. Now the baby is delivered. At the time of the delivery of the baby, we'll have these primary follicles present in the ovary of that child, ovary of that female child. They are the primary follicles. Primary follicles. How many primary follicles are present at the time of the birth? Millions of primary follicles are present at the time of the birth of that baby. Now the baby is growing. अब बच्ची बड़ी हो रही, बच्ची पैदा हुई, बच्ची पैदा होती बढ़ना शुरू होती, ಮಗು ಹುಟ್ಟಿದ ತಕ್ಷಣ ಅದು ಬೆಳಿಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಮಾಡ್ತದ್ರಿ. 1 ವರ್ಷ ಆಯ್ತು, 2 ವರ್ಷ ಆಯ್ತು, 3 ವರ್ಷ ಆಯ್ತು, 4ನೇ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಗೆ ಹೋದ್ಲು, 5ನೇ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಗೆ ಹೋದ್ಲು, 6ನೇ ಕ್ಲಾಸಿಗೆ ಹೋದ್ಲು, ಹಿಂಗೆ ಮಗುವಿನ ಬೆಳವಣಿಗೆ ಬೆಳ್ಕೋತ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದೆ ಆ ಮಗು. Now as the baby is growing, she completed first standard, second standard, third standard, like that she is growing. At the time of puberty, जैसे ही वो लड़की बालिग होती, puberty, at the time of puberty, we have millions of primary follicles in the newly born baby. She is growing and she become adult. Sexually she become mature. At the time of her sexual maturity, only 60,000 to 80,000 primary follicles are left. Primary follicles are left. That means during this period from birth to puberty, these primary follicles, they are getting destroyed. They are getting degenerated. That degeneration of primary follicles, it is called as atresia. What is atresia? Degeneration or destruction of primary follicles. It is called as atresia. Atresia कहाँ से शुरू हो रहा और कहाँ पे खत्म हो रहा? Atresia बच्चे के पैदाइश से शुरू होके जब तक वो लड़की जवान नहीं होती तब तक atresia चलते रहता. इसीलिए that is why millions of primary follicles, they get reduced to only 60,000 to 80,000. At the time of maturity, the female ovary consists of each ovary, per ovary. It is per ovary. Each ovary consists of around 60,000 to 80,000 primary follicles left. This discussion I am taking here now. I am continuing with the same thing here at puberty. At puberty, will have only 60 to 80,000 primary follicles are present. This is the primary follicle. In this primary follicle, we have a primary oocyte and the granulosa cells. At the time of puberty, what is going to happen? The female, they secrete two very important hormones. What are the two very important hormones at the time of puberty the female secretes? It is LH and FSH. The same thing. Hypothalamus gland produces GnRH, gonadotrophin releasing hormones. Gonadotrophin releasing hormones, they stimulate the pituitary gland, and pituitary gland produces two types of hormones, FH and LH. LH and FSH. LH means luteinizing hormone, FSH means follicle stimulating hormone. These two hormones, they act on ovary. As a result of that, this primary follicle, it undergoes certain modifications due to the these two hormones. What are the modifications? What are the modifications? Here, this is the cell that we have. This cell, it is the primary oocyte. Primary oocyte. Around this, we have only one layer of granulosa cell till now, but as the FSH and LH, they act upon the ovary, due to this, we have a multi-layered granulosa cells are arranged. Multi-layered granulosa. This is the granulosa. After this structure, it develops a outer jacket. It develops an outer layer. It develops an outer membrane. This membrane, it is called as theca. Theca. They are the changes takes place in the primary follicle to become the secondary follicle. Now this entire structure, it is called as secondary follicle. From primary follicle, now it becomes the secondary follicle by doing all these modifications, my dear friends. And these modifications are due to the LH and FSH hormones secreted by the pituitary glands. These two hormones, they are commonly called as gonadotrophins. Now, after this, this cell, what is this cell? This cell is the primary oocyte. Primary oocyte, it completes its meiosis. What do you mean by that? Meiosis has started here in the fetal stage and it get arrested at prophase. Now after the puberty it is getting completed. ನೋಡ್ರಿ ಎಷ್ಟು ವಿಚಿತ್ರ ಅದ. ಒಂದು ಹೆಣ್ಣು ಭ್ರೂಣದಲ್ಲಿ ಮಿಯೋಸಿಸ್ ಶುರು ಆಗ್ಯದ ಮತ್ತು ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಅರೆಸ್ಟ್ ಆಗಿ ನಿಂತು ಹೋಗ್ಯದ. ಅದು ಯಾವಾಗ कंप्लीट ಆಗ್ತದ? ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಿಂತಂತ प्रोसेस यहाँ पे रुके सो प्रोसेस कब जाके कंप्लीट होता? जब वो लड़की जवान होती तब जाके कंप्लीट हो रहा. That is why oogenesis is called as discontinuous process, my dear friends. Here this cell, what is this cell? Primary oocyte. Primary oocyte is getting divided by meiosis. That means it is completing meiosis. Meiosis 1, it completes the meiosis. By the end of meiosis 1, we know that two cells are formed. Two equal size cells are formed. But here something very interesting is taking place. What is that interesting thing is, this cell is getting divided into two cells, but these two cells are not of equal size. Here we'll have a small cell is formed. Here we'll have a large cell formed. Let us draw this with a different color so that we can keep a track of this cell. We'll have a small cell formed and this is the large cell which is formed. Why this unequal cell division takes place? It is due to unequal distribution of cytoplasma. Here this cell has got a cytoplasma. Approximately 90% of the cytoplasma goes to this cell. That is why this cell becomes bigger. And 10% cytoplasma goes to this cell. That is why this cell becomes smaller in its size. The cell which is formed with a very small size, it is called as first polar body. It is called as first polar body. And this first polar body, in future, it will get degenerated. It will get destroyed. Now this cell which is formed, it is called as secondary oocyte. It is called as secondary oocyte. From primary oocyte, now it becomes secondary oocyte. And all the granulosa cells, they are surrounding this secondary oocyte. And granulosa become multi-layered due to the activity of follicle stimulating hormone and luteinizing hormone. It becomes multi-layered. And inside this granulosa cells, a small cavity is formed here. A small cavity is formed. A cavity is formed. A free space is formed here. And we have the theca layer here. This theca, it divides into two layers. There is only one layer of theca. But in the next stage, we'll have two layers of theca. This is one layer of theca. Theca literally means the covering layer or envelope is called as theca. This inner theca, it is called as theca interna. It is called as theca interna. Whereas one more layer get developed here like this. One more layer get developed. One more membrane get developed here. This membrane, which is outside, which is external to this structure, that is why it is called as theca externa. Theca externa. Now this complete structure, it is called as tertiary follicle. Tertiary follicle. That means from secondary follicle, now it is becoming the tertiary follicle. Let us keep a track here. Oogonia get converted into primary oocyte. Primary oocytes, they get converted into primary oocytes, they get converted into primary follicles. From primary follicles, they are becoming secondary follicles. From secondary follicles, they are becoming tertiary follicles. In future, this cell will divide into two cells. That means here meiosis 1 is completed. As a result of that, two cells are formed. Meiosis, as I told earlier, it has got two steps. Meiosis 1 and meiosis 2. If just meiosis 1 agidri, andre idu complete meiosis illa. Hagadre idu meiosis 2 nu ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. Here meiosis 2. Meiosis second. And this meiosis second, it is also unequal cytokinesis. ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಸೈಟೋಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಮಾ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಆಗಿ ಡಿವೈಡ್ ಆಗಾಗತ್ತಿಲ್ಲ. 90% ಸೈಟೋಪ್ಲಾಸ್ಮಾ ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಹೊಂಟದೆ, 90% cytoplasma ಈ ಸೆಲ್ಲಿಗೆ ಬರಾಗತ್ತದ. Only 10% of cytoplasma is coming to this. As a result of that, meiosis 2, two cells are formed. These two cells are formed. This cell, it is called as second polar body. Both first polar body and second polar body, they get degenerated. ಎರಡು ಕೂಡ degenerate ಆಗ್ತವೆ. दोनों के दोनों भी destroy होके चले जाते आगे. Now this cell which is formed by the meiosis 2, it is being called as ovum or mature female gamete. Ovum, or it is also called as ootid or ovum it is. This ovum is a mature female gamete. It develops a non-cellular jelly membrane around it. Made up of gels. It is not made up of cells. It is made up of a gel-like substance. This is called as zona pellucida. this non-cellular jelly membrane which is getting developed around the mature ovum, it is called as zona pellucida. At the outer side of this zona pellucida, there are some cells formed, and these cells are radiating outside. That means as if they are coming outside. They are pyramid-like cells which are formed here, and all these cells are having a prominent nucleus, dense cytoplasma. This layer of cell, I hope you can see this. This layer of cell, it is called as corona. Not coronavirus. It is called as corona radiata. This group of cell, it is called as corona radiata. Then surrounding to this, we have the granulosa cells. Granulosa cells are formed here. And we know granulosa cells are multi-layered cells. They are all granulosa cells. This is one layer. Let us draw one more layer here. One more layer is formed here. This is the granulosa. This is granulosa. And in the center, we have a cavity here. Inside the granulosa, there is a cavity. This cavity, it is called as antrum. Very important for competitive exams. Antrum. This is the cavity which is started here. It is called as antrum. In tertiary follicle itself, the antrum is getting developed, and here the cavity is fully developed. Now we'll have two covering layers. The inner covering layer. It is called as theca interna. This covering layer that I am drawing with the red color, it is called as theca interna. Whereas there is one more covering layer. Which is outside, which is towards the external side of this entire structure. It is called as theca externa. To hold this structure, to hold the entire structure in the center of the cell, there are a group of cells formed here. Like this. These group of cells, they are called as germ hills. Now, this complete structure which is formed by the meiosis II, it is called as Graafian follicle. That means oogonia is the starting cell of the oogenesis. From oogonia, it becomes the primary oocyte. From primary oocyte, primary follicles are formed. From primary follicles, secondary follicles are formed. From secondary follicles, tertiary follicles are formed. From the tertiary follicles, Graafian follicles are formed. Here we have got a fully matured female gamete. This fully matured female gamete get developed in a female who attains the puberty. Puberty in case of females begins with a very important characteristic feature, that is menstrual cycles. On the 14th day of menstrual cycle, ovary releases one egg. We know that. It's a fact. That ovum get released from this ovary. This entire structure is called as ovum. It is called as female gamete. This female gamete get released from the Graafian follicle by rupturing it. By rupturing it, this get released out. This get released out on the 14th day of menstrual cycle. That process of releasing a mature ovum from the ovary, it is called as ovulation. Very important definition for board as well as for competitive exams. What is ovulation? Release of mature ovum from the Graafian follicle or from the ovary itself. It is called as ovulation. How it get released out? By rupturing the Graafian follicle. By breaking the walls of the Graafian follicle, the secondary oocyte or the ovum get released out from the ovary. This is the entire process of ovulation. It seems to be very complicated. If you watch my videos again and again repeatedly, then you are going to understand this complicated process in a simple way. From primary follicles, secondary follicles are formed. Secondary follicles, tertiary follicles are formed. From tertiary follicles, Graafian follicle is formed. And from that Graafian follicle, the mature ovum comes out. That process is called as ovulation. I hope you people have got an entire idea about the oogenesis. In our next video, we are going to understand about the structure of the female gamete. How is the detailed structure of this female gamete? We'll understand in the next video. Thank you so much.